Welcome to another edition of Civil Talk. My name is Matt Sutherland, barber at Civil Grooming Studio in Tampa, Florida. I have with me my friend, my great friend, Kurt Waterstradt. He is a writer, traveler, and yoga instructor. Kurt, thank you so much.
No problem, man.
It's beyond a pleasure to have you finally. And also, Kurt, when I had this idea to do this video cast, Kurt was the test dummy. I just did it on. I did a podcast, mock podcast on my phone, and I recorded a conversation just to see how it would feel and how it would flow. And Kurt did that, and because of you, that one little step, like, it was awesome. Made this.
Yeah, that's great, man.
I appreciate you greatly. I'm so excited because I told Kurt he's literally one of my favorite people to talk to. Like, really, he is. I love his energy. I love just who he is as a person. I love what he's into. He and I have share a passion for yoga, spirituality, entrepreneurship. So let's get it rolling.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, actually, this is what the topic today is. I would say letting go and making space for the new. And it's, you see the Christmas tree still up. It is New Year's Eve on
Saturday. Saturday.
So we're going to be getting on the topics of letting go of the old and bringing in the new. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that with his beard. We're going to bring Kurt's beard down. We're going to let go of this old beard, and we're going to bring in a new, nice, short palette to grow into some new energy.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So,
Kurt, could you tell me a little bit about yourself? Anything.
Well, as you introduced me, a yoga instructor, a writer, traveler. I'm retired military as well, so I did 20 years in the Navy, so I'm on a very different path from where I was only a few years ago. It was really hard to kind of find my footing initially when I retired, but the space to grow has been really important. I've been able to do some traveling on my own, which has been really nice for me to not have to go and do anything in particular. I can just kind of go and be and exist and really experience other people and cultures and locations without the idea of like, oh, this is for a job, this is for work or anything like that. And the writing thing, I've always just, whether it's been good or bad, I've had a lot to say, but it's finding that voice now where it's like, I don't have to explain to anybody what I'm writing. When I was in the military, you had to be really careful about what you wrote or what you said because you had certain constrictions and, honestly, you signed up for that. So it was all good. But now I don't have that. So now I'm really free to explore anything that I want to. And that space and freedom has been really amazing for me. As you know, because you and I have been talking for a year now, roughly, since last year when I met you. So yeah, man, like it's been really good. It's been good. In 2023, I'm really looking forward to this, just to see what happens. 2 years of transition from the military. Now I'm really like, okay, I have more direction. I know I have a general idea of some of the things I want to get done. And, we talk all the time, and people should think about that as time is your ultimate resource, That's what's limited. You can never get it back. It is the only thing that constantly moves forward. So with that, I'm like, dude, I got to make good choices going into 2023. So I'm ready for it, Got to be ready, as we were talking about the letting go. And in yoga, after finishing my teacher training, and I've been trying to dive into the philosophy, and, one of the yamas, we talked about this, parigraha, non-possessiveness, that letting go. The breath is the ultimate tool for that because you inhale, you exhale. But sometimes we hold on to things. We always talk about letting go of the bad stuff, right? We all have trauma. This is, it's a fact. this is in my opinion, everybody's experienced some kind of trauma in their life, and that's led them to where they are. So we always talk about letting go of the bad things, you know. But, you know, sometimes the good things can become toxic too, because as we talk about some of the, you know, high points we have, unfortunately, a lot of us will hold on to that feeling of that, oh, this was such an amazing dinner, or this was such an amazing meal, and then we compare everything to that bar, man, and we're like holding on to a feeling that it was great in the moment but doesn't serve us now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2023, I think that's, you know, I've noticed personally in previous years, and I just had this conversation with my son, you know, and he's like, 2022 was a good year when you compare it to like 2021 or 2020. And I was like, as we were talking, I was like, you know what, man, I agree with you, because 2020 and 2021 with the pandemic rolling, things were really difficult on people.
Definitely.
And that's great, but comparing this year to the years prior doesn't serve us either, because this year's got nothing to do with those years.
Right.
If we compare the best things of this year and we're like, you know, of course this year will be there, but we're kind of missing the point of what happened in 2022 for you. You know what I mean? Especially if you're comparing it. So when I was reading this book on the yamas and niyamas, first two limbs of the 8 limbs of yoga, it was really kind of, the lady who wrote it, she was talking about it, you know, good things can become toxic all the same. So like if you hold your breath for too long, breath is life. But if you hold your breath for too long, it can become toxic. That builds up inside of you and it's there. Mm-hmm. People who work out too much, yeah, it serves you for a while, but it can also be detrimental to you if you don't learn to ease off of it, you know. You can encounter injuries or, you know, create problems for yourself. So I think letting go in 2023 isn't just about letting go of the bad stuff, but it's like, appreciate what is good that happened to you this year, but don't take that with you into the next year. Just appreciate it for what it was, thank it, and then you know what? Next year your experiences are all anew. You know what? Because that's the real challenge, is comparing, you know, that comparison. We have a real hard time. I've noticed this personally. I'll compare things and I'll be like, you know what? That does, you know, that doesn't really serve me if you're comparing things, because if you have a great experience, some people will be like, well, that set the bar. Well, that really kind of sets you up for failure then, or disappointment. You know, we wonder sometimes about negative emotion and, you know, some of our negative thoughts. Well, you know, if you're comparing it to this one experience, was it really bad? Or was it not a great experience and you just missed it because you have held on to something in your mind too long?
Or, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
Or was it just, you know, if it was what we were to experience as a negative experience, you know, an experience that we did not intend on having, or, you know, was not set up to the bar of our expectation, or went totally south of our expectation, no matter what it is, there's a lesson and there's something to get out of that as well. So like, we don't want to miss the lessons of, you know, just a life experience, period. Be it, you know, it could be a really horrible experience too.
Yeah.
And it's important to look at those experiences and say, you know, this may have not been an ideal experience. It may have been a horrible, you know, terrible experience, but at the same time, we have to look at it for our own, you know, for our own sense of peace. Mm-hmm. You have to look at it and say that this experience happened for me for a reason. Mm-hmm. And even if we can't see the reason right away, we have to make room for that reason to reveal itself and give us whatever is there for us.
Oh yeah.
It could be a lesson. It could be, you know, it could be
There's lessons.
It could be something that you just have to learn in life in order to like be able to heal properly. It could be something like traumatic that you experienced, and then like you know, part of going through that experience is learning how to heal.
Oh yeah.
So,
well, we need to observe. You know, sometimes we don't observe. We observe and evaluate, and then we miss what's really there because our own past, our own bias is like skewing our observation. It's not an observation, it's you're evaluating whatever just happened, which makes a huge difference. But something you said in the beginning right there, I think is really important going into 2023 is you have to be careful about setting expectations. It's good to have goals, you know, everyone makes resolutions and goals, and those are great because they can help provide you with direction. But the worry, or I'd say the concern, is when we set these resolutions and expectations, or these resolutions or goals, we attach an expectation to how they're going to unfold. How are they going to look? We look at it and be like, if it doesn't look exactly like this, then it's not really me reaching my goal. Like a simple example would be like, all right, a lot of people set a resolution or a goal to like, I'm going to save more money the next year. But, you know, the expectation for them in their head, whether they say it out loud, they might attach a certain amount of money to it, or, you know, or certain conditions. And then like, okay, this is my goal. I'm gonna save $20,000 and have no credit card debt. Well, okay. Now, while that sounds very specific, and I believe in SMART goals, the thing about it is, what if they only save $7,000 and they cut their credit card debt in half? For them, they set an expectation. Well, they're going to feel like that's a failure. But is it a failure? No. No, it's not a failure. It's not even a negative. Like, you still cut your credit card debt in half, and you still have money in the bank that you didn't have before.
Yeah, you made a move in the right direction.
Right. So, while I think as people in these last couple days of the year, and I've been talking about this with my partner, you know, what kind of, you know, where do we see next year going? I think it's good to set goals, and in some cases being specific. Like, perfect example, I do want to do yoga every day of 2023. And I'm going to say that right now on camera because, you know what, that's important for me, is that every day I'm going to practice, whether that's getting on my mat and moving myself, that's concentrated breath work, some degree, I'm going to do it every day for 2023 because that's really important to me. So that's good. Now, if I don't achieve that exactly like that, I just want to do it, just some kind of yoga every day. I'm not going to set an expectation of like, that's going to be an hour practice, or that's, you know, I'm going to do power every day for an hour. You know, I've got to really, no, man, like some form of yoga every day. That's it. Because by setting a higher expectation for myself, and I know this personally, I've had a lot of really lofty goals, and I've made progress and then felt like failure at the end of the year. And it's negatively impacted my emotions and my mental state when it's like, I didn't hit the really specific goal, but I made really good progress, and you should celebrate that as well. So I think there's a fine balance, like so many things, between setting a goal and then setting an expectation. A goal is one thing, and expectation is different. A goal doesn't have a defined way of getting there. You just have that goal, and the expectation is, I'm going to do this, and it's going to look exactly like X. I'm going to perform just like this every single time. And it's like, that's, you know, that's, again, you're holding yourself to something in your mind that doesn't exist. So does that not just pull you out of the present as well? That becomes another thing too. A lot of us talk about being more present, right? You and I have definitely talked about this, being present. So many conversations. And sometimes when we have that expectation in our head, we're striving for that when really we're losing the precious part of the moment we're in. What we're able to accomplish in that moment. You know, that's what yoga's taught me. If yoga's taught me anything, it's being present as much as possible.
Yeah.
And you know, no one's gonna, I don't care what anyone says, we all have this battle. And that's fine, that's great. You're not gonna be present all the time, it's hard. Dude, being a human is complicated. Let's be real. Like, we all wish it was easier. Yeah. It's not. But you know what? If you can just be present for those little things, it boosts your, you know, it boosts so much more. You get such an appreciation for your life, for what's going on around you, for the people around you. You know, we talk about in the yamas, the first one of yoga, ahimsa, which is non-violence. You know, our negative talk, how we treat ourselves. You know, another thing in non-violence is really important. But in the new year, you and I have talked about this. How can I help other people if I can't do it for myself?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
So that non-violent talk that, you know, I have some really amazing yoga teachers that I've worked with. And the thing about it is they talk about it like, are you an asshole to yourself when you get on the mat because you can't stand on one foot? Like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. Why? Yeah. Who cares if you can stand on one foot? But you know what? If you have that negative self-talk over something like this, what are you doing to yourself all the other times that, you know, things are hard? So that non-violence, you know, when you start thinking about that love and compassion and empathy, and start with yourself this year. Think about how hard you are on yourself. And
that
like,
is huge.
Be nice to yourself first. And dude, you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
I've been shocked how much working that way and focusing has brought about such positive change in my life, you know? And I mean, whether, you know, a lot of people know or not, I was super depressed in the military. Like, I had bouts of long depression and, you know, not to sound sadly cliche, but like definitely thoughts of suicide because like I just wasn't happy. But I was being incredibly hard on myself, and I have been since I was a kid. You know, that's something I have to battle with because, you know, it formed as a child. So, hey, man, you know, but now I'm aware.
I can, and that is what matters. As long as you're aware, you have what it takes. You have that awareness to make a change. And I can relate to that, being so hard on yourself. And, you know, being on the yoga mat is such a, it helps to reveal that as you practice, because, you know, I feel like also on the yoga mat, there have been times when I'm like, ooh, look at me.
Right.
I'm doing this pose and I'm, you know.
Yeah.
It's easy to become humbled on the yoga mat, and then you see someone next to you stand on their hand and move their legs around. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, where am I at? And then, but at the same time, like, you know, I've also gone the yoga mat and I've had to accept where I'm at, where I'm like, oh, this is where I'm at today. My knee's hurting today. I can't do what I usually do today. And also, you know, I think a big part of, you know, like you saying, you know, be nice to yourself, be graceful with yourself. I think that's a big part of bringing a positive energy into the new year, because you gotta let all the old shit go. You gotta let all the old shit, you know, any type of like feelings of guilt or shame or feelings of failure, anything that, you know, any negative feeling that is keeping you from feeling your absolute best, you gotta let it go and bring in, you know, a new palette, a new canvas to work with. And that is the beautiful thing about the new year, and I feel it like so much. And that's one thing I love about the new year, is because we have that, you know, this is the new year, it's the new energy, it's the new opportunity to create or to continue the work that you were working on within yourself or within, you know, anything that you do. for yourself or for others. It's a beautiful thing to have a clean slate and be able to, you know.
Yeah, and you know, I think so. There's a quote I really like, and it's really informed, I'd say, my life, but definitely even I tie it into yoga a lot of the time. And I'll butcher his name. I'll butcher your phone right there. I'll butcher his name, but he's a Greek writer, poet from way back in the day. And his quote is Heraclitus, Heraclitus, for those of you that want to look it up. And it says, "No man crosses their same river twice, for it's not the same river, and he is not the same man." So here's the thing. When you talk about these, and it is New Year, I think about it when I get on my mat. It's one of the things I like about when I go into yoga. That mat's the same. That's the same mat I rolled out yesterday, but it's not the same mat because we're in a different time. I'm a different person.
Exactly.
Every day, every second, you have cells living, dying, being reborn. So by definition, you are not the same person you were even a second ago. 100%. Now, with that quote, what I like about it is you get hung up on that mat and you're like, okay, this is like yesterday. But no, the mat is not the same. You're not the same. So when you think about the new year, there are things that could feel familiar, but as familiar as it might feel, it's not the same. It's just not.
Right.
So holding on to a lot of that with that non-possessiveness, I like that quote because it kind of bridges the gap between some other philosophies and like Stoic philosophy. A lot of this stuff is all tied in, man. Like it all says a lot of the same stuff, but it just says it in a different way and it connects with people in a different way. You know, I've learned that through time too. I mean, there's a teacher for every student, a student for every teacher. So I believe that too across in terms of philosophy. There's a good way philosophy gets across or religion gets through people that might not. Everybody's different. So going into 2023, think of it as a new river. You can think of it on the macro. 2023 is a new river. Well, you know what? January 1st, midnight, 00:0001 second, that's a new river. And you know what? The clock ticks forward and it's still a new river. And you're a new person. And that's where we don't hold on to things. You don't hold on to it because every second is a chance to change. Every second is a chance to make a different decision. And you know, I was going to say a better decision, but you know, that's a problem. We saying that's a better decision is evaluation, and it's not necessarily right or wrong. It's not even good or bad. It's just different. You have a chance to make a different choice.
Absolutely.
However that works out for you, that's how it works out. That's how it is. If it's not how you like it, or you wanted a different result, or you feel like that result could be better, make a new choice. You can just as easily make a new choice because you know what? The river just changed. Rivers change all the time. Though you cross at the same point, that flowing water, the water's not the same. That water cycled down to the ocean, evaporated, gone up to the clouds, gone back, come back down as rain, and refilled, but it's still not the same. It's gone through how many transformations? We go through those same amount of transformations. It's us holding on to the old, which poisons the new. And it doesn't have to be that way. I caution because I say this and it sounds so good when you say it, but practicality and action is a lot harder than words. And trust me, I am not a paragon of all this. I'm still working on it every day like everyone else. And if someone says they got it all figured out, sorry, I call bullshit.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Everyone on the planet is a work in progress.
We all are, man. We all are. But that's what makes us beautiful.
Exactly.
That's what makes everybody beautiful.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do, like, we create... Beauty is, they say it's in the eye of the beholder, but in the same time frame, everything is beautiful. You just have to open yourself to it instead of, you know, evaluating what it is.
Right.
You're not evaluating. I can observe a sunset. And for me, there's beauty in that sunset. There's beauty. It's beautiful in general. You know where it determines if it's not beautiful? It's in your state of mind. It's your choice to pick on the negative or to determine, oh, but I saw the sunset one time across the ocean that was so beautiful. Yeah, okay, great. But that doesn't take away from the beauty of right now.
Definitely. Kurt, we're about to wrap it up, but I want to ask you one thing. What would you tell someone that is just like, having a very difficult time of like letting go of what they need to let go to push themselves into that new space of energy, not only for the new year, but like anytime, any day of the year?
Well, if it's really difficult, number one, as a guy, cry. Listen to me. People hold on to things. I was a compartmentalizer. I disassociated a lot.
Wow.
And, honestly, holding that emotion in is what kills you.
Wow.
That's what kills you. The first thing I'd recommend, cry.
Wow.
Let that emotional release out.
Wow.
Because that is going to serve you more than anything else. Because you know what? You are struggling, and that's fine. But that's not ignoring your feeling. That's accepting it, because that's part of who you are.
100%.
It doesn't mean you have to like live in it forever, but you have to be in it in the moment. And you know what? It's a sad misconception still, and I know a lot of guys who are trying to change this, that showing emotion is wrong, or we grew up that way. I grew up that way. Like, what are you crying about?
So many of us men.
Yeah, a lot of men. So vulnerability is number one. And I'm a big believer in however you want to work it out. Whether you talk to your device and you do, talk it out, write it out. I love to journal. If I really don't know, I love to write it out. What am I holding on to it for? And really, and if I'm having a difficult time, what specifically is giving me the difficult time? Sometimes I like to write it all out to determine what's there and what's not. And you know what? I've found personally I can usually find the root of it. And then I know I'm addressing that one. I'm addressing what's specific, not just the whole I feel terrible or I'm sad or I'm upset. Well, I'm sad about what exactly? First, I determine that. Accept that you're upset. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm skeptical of somebody who's happy all the time. There's a common belief nowadays where people are talking about toxic positivity. Oh, can't be wrong. Oh, I'm always happy. Everything's okay. Bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You have negative emotions. You have emotion. There are things that have happened to you. So are you just using your positivity to mask your own healing, to avoid your own healing? Nope, I'm not going to do it. I used to just disassociate and work. I'd work hours, dude. I wouldn't stop for anything. But you know what? You have to feel that emotion first. And I really do recommend people, luckily I'm extremely fortunate. I have a lot of really great people in my life. A lot of people I can talk to. Guys like you that we talk all the time.
Likewise.
But find people there's someone out there for everybody. And don't let for like a bias towards vulnerability stop you from your growth. I did for a long time. When I started yoga a year and change ago, I literally had a breakdown on my mat. I couldn't hold it in. So one of the teachers that I know, she asked a simple question to set my intention for my practice. And she said, I am fill in the blank. I am loved. I am, happy. I am whatever. 45-minute yoga class, dude. I couldn't fill in the blank. I couldn't finish the statement. I am ... And I could, the entire class. It was December 12th. December 12th, 2021 is when this happened. I still remember the date.
Wow.
And I couldn't fill it in. I couldn't answer it. And it got to the point where I was so glad they brought the towels out, because I started crying on my mat. I couldn't hold it in. And I was ashamed of it at the time, because it's like, I don't want anybody to know. But that's what needs to happen. I have that happen a lot less because I feel the things when they're happening now. And you know what? If somebody gives you shit for that, they're not the right person in your life. And you know what? They're not addressing their own stuff. So, you have to take care of you, because when you take care of you, that's how you take care of everybody else. And I'm telling you, If I had to choose, that's it. Dude, cry. Don't be ashamed. Talk about it. You know you got somebody close to you, talk about it. Be open. Be open. That's, you know, you have to, because I've seen the other way.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it. Unfortunately, a lot of people have seen it. I've known people who've killed themselves. I've known people have turned to alcohol and drugs, and they can't pull themselves, you know, like, it keeps them from the moment. I'm telling you, man, like, learning to be okay with the hurt and being okay, like, let that emotion out it's a huge step, but it's, for me, it's been the most critical. It's the most crucial. Without it, none of the other things would have happened.
I love that. It's the vulnerability, and, you know, swallowing. I feel like the thing that stops vulnerability, one thing I would say, for me especially, is like ego. You don't want anyone to see you, you know, struggling. You don't want anyone to see you in your weak point. You know? And it comes down to being like, fuck that. I'm weak. I'm in a state of emergency.
Yeah.
I need help.
I need
to release what is within me that is holding me down. And that is,
and I'm telling you,
key
the moment you let it go,
yeah,
you feel lighter.
Oh,
you feel so light.
So good.
And then you're like, man, that was what was holding me down. That was what was like crushing me on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it can be really hard, and it's not like it's a cure-all, but that release and that acceptance sets you down on such a better path. And you might take days or weeks or whatnot, but there's a lot of ways you can move forward from that. But, you know, I was the one who ran from it or disassociated from it for a really long time. And I'm telling you, it was like, I've had more growth in this last year and a half. I'd say, yeah, about a year, a little over a year, than I've ever had. But I've finally just accepted that. And also, we don't want people to see that. But that's also a belief or bias in our head that they were going to look at us that way. That goes back to that nonviolence toward yourself, man. That first level of ahimsa. We think they're going to be like, oh, look at that guy crying. Look at him weak. That's a narrative we've created in our head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We don't know that. We're using that based off our experience. And some of us got a lot of trauma around that. Mm-hmm. And that's sad, but you can't move forward till you start addressing it. It's really hard. And I promise everyone out there that you do the work, and while it sucks sometimes, and it really does,
mm-hmm.
the next day, I'm sorry, man, the river seems bluer. I feel more capable.
Yeah.
I feel better. Like, I honestly just feel better.
Right.
There's no other way to say it.
And I love one thing before we stop. I love one thing that you just pointed out. When you're doing the work, it doesn't always feel good. No. It fucking sucks sometimes. You know, like, it's like when you're working out and you feel the pain, but you know you got to keep going because you know you want to get to that goal.
Yeah.
You have to keep going. When you feel that feeling of, you know, getting outside of your comfort, getting into a place of vulnerability and a place of knowing that you're about to give out, it's really hard. So it's important to just stay the course, and it's important to make that move to get to that feeling of that feeling that you're trying to get to, that positive feeling, that feeling of, like you said before, feeling lighter, feeling that you're not carrying this weight, you don't have this cloud over you anymore. That's what it takes. It takes, you know, sometimes people will look at you and say, oh, look at that weak motherfucker, you know? You got to be willing to just let that go and be like, hey, you can think what you want. I'm going to do me.
Right.
I'm going to move forward with my life, and I'm going to be uncomfortable for a little bit to do that.
You know what? and it's true. I care that I can wake up every day and look myself in the mirror. I wrote a poem a while back, and I don't have it memorized, but it really did talk about surfaces. I had a real issue looking in the mirror or anything that had my reflection. I didn't like who I was, man. Like, I didn't like who I was. It's painful for me to think about that, but like now, those people, you can think what you want. I honestly, that's up to you. I wish you the best, but if I can wake up with me and I look at myself and know, like, I am doing my best. I'm trying to be the best version of myself. My partner, she can tell, and my kids can tell, and they can see that in me. No offense to everybody else out there, but I genuinely don't fucking care. Like, like, it's not to be mean, but like, it doesn't serve me to worry about that. Like, I'm okay with me. And even to a degree, those people in my life, I know if I'm doing the right things for me, I know I'm going to do the right things for them.
Right.
And you know what? For me, it started with accepting that if I just kept holding on to stuff and like ignoring it and pushing it down and just trying to be this tough person, I was never going to get there. Never going to get there. And you know what? Not that you need, it's nice to have validation from time to time that you're on the right path. And this year, I did get it. My daughter wrote me a really beautiful card for Christmas. And that, all the work, all the hardship, shows I've been doing what I should have been doing for years. But now I'm on the right path.
That's awesome. And that's when it is just like worth, it's priceless.
Yeah, it is.
Priceless.
It is.
Oh,
it really is.
When you affect the people that you love the most.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, you do the work to get to, you know, help them get to where they need to be in their life and their feeling of joy and happiness. Oh, it's priceless.
It is.
It's priceless. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man.
I love our conversations.
I love having them with you.
I love your energy. I love you.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.
You, brother. Always.
See you later.
Also, remember to comment, like, and subscribe. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
May all that you want to come true for you in the next year. And remember to be vulnerable in order to get there. Take care, everyone. Be well.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.